What up, everybody, and welcome back to Baz on Blades. My name is Baz, and I talk about blades. Today's blade, what are we going to talk about? I didn't see the title to the video. What are you talking about, Baz? We're going to talk about a cold steel. This is the Cold Steel Secret Edge. The Cold Steel Secret Edge is a small, single-edged, modern take on a Scottish skene-dhu. A skene-dhu is a traditional knife that the Scots wore when in kilt. It was just a sort of an everyday carry blade for them. They used it to eat with. They used it for utility purposes. It was typically worn down in their kilt hose on their strong side. And you can, if you go to any Scottish games or anything like that, and you see a bunch of people in kilts, you are going to see a lot of people carrying a skene-dhu in their kilt hose or sometimes in their waist. And this is just sort of a small modern interpretation of that. Now, I want to talk about price on this knife. And right now, I looked around a little bit, and across the internet, most of the reputable knife retailers have got this about $26. Amazon has it for $26. Now, I bought mine from a trusted retailer or a trusted seller, I should say, off of eBay. And I just checked eBay. I did find a seller that had about 4,000 transactions with 99.9% positive feedback. They have this knife for $22.86. The name of that seller is Hometown 111. The numbers 111 at the end, all one word. And you know what? Less than $23 shipped for this knife is a pretty doggone good deal. Now, let's pull this sheath in here. We'll set this up nice and pretty so you have something to look at while I'm talking about specs. We'll go ahead and do the specs here. Like I say, this is a small, flat, easily concealable fixed blade. You're looking at 3 1/4 inch blade length, and that's about 8 1/4 centimeters. The blade stock thickness is 91 thousandths of an inch, or 2.32 millimeters. The blade width, 1.12 inches, or 28.65 millimeters. The handle length, also 3 1/4 inches, or 8 1/4 centimeters. The handle thickness, 333 thousandths of an inch, a third of an inch, or 8.46 millimeters. The handle width at the widest, 1.17 inches, or 29.92 millimeters. As I said, this is a 1-to-1 handle blade ratio knife. 3 1/4 inches for blade length, 3 1/4 inches for handle length. So you're looking at 6.5 inches, or 16.5 centimeters overall. The thickness behind the edge was 16 thousandths of an inch, so pretty thin edge, guys, on that thinner blade stock. The weight, 2.29 ounces for the knife, with sheath included, 3.14 ounces, or 65 or 89 grams respective. All right. Let's take a closer look at this knife real quick. We'll talk about materials first. It's a pretty simple knife. It's got 2 materials, guys. The blade steel, as typical in a lot of cold steel products, is AUS 8A. And we'll talk about that blade steel first. That is a Japanese blade steel made by Aichi. AUS 8A. What is the A on the end of it, and why is it there? What is different between it and regular AUS 8? The A simply stands for annealed. Annealing is a slow cooling process with steel that you use in order to lower the hardness of the steel for increased workability and machinability. It also modifies the microstructure, the grain structure of the steel. And you know what? Companies that work with AUS 8A do this because it's easier and cheaper to machine. It is softer starting out. It is easier on their tooling and easier to work with. Other than that, it's just AUS 8, guys. Aus-8, you're looking at a carbon content of 0.7 to 0.75, a chromium content of 13 to 14.5%. It is a vanadium and niobium alloyed steel, so you do have those carbide formers in there if there is any sort of free roaming carbon left over after hardening to form carbides. And again, carbides are super hard particles that are suspended within the grain structure, the matrix of the steel. And typically higher carbide steels are very toothy cutters. All right. The handle material on this is what Cold Steel calls Griv-X, and it's basically a fiber reinforced nylon. And you can see here it does have a pretty coarse brick pattern surface texture, and a lot like the coarser G10s that Cold Steel uses. For all intents and purposes, it behaves a lot like G10, guys, even though it is not. And then let's go ahead and cover materials on the sheath, and this is in what Cold Steel refers to as Secure-X, which again is a fiber reinforced nylon, a plastic that is injection molded. All right, we'll do fit and finish on this. In the blade, the traditional Skindoo design is a single edge blade, and although this has a very dagger-like, spear point-like blade profile, it is just sharpened on one side. The other side is not sharpened. It is a totally high, flat grind. It does give you a very thin edge. The edge on this is very well done. You can see that in this blade profile you have a very sharp point that has no problem piercing, as you can see on my skin there. The fit and finish on the blade is excellent. The edge is well done. The grind is even for both sides, as is typical with Cold Steel. I very, very seldom see any fit and finish issues in a Cold Steel product with their blade. You can see Cold Steel and Made in Taiwan etched on the back side, and then the large Secret Edge logo on the front side, both very well etched, very sharp. Now, as far as the fit and finish of the handle, we'll take a look. You know, we're going to go around the edge right here and look right across the spine here. There is barely any nail catch there at all. So these scales are very well fit to the handle of this knife. Plenty of hardware to hold them down securely. You've got the 3 holes in the center that are, you know, chamfered. They're radiused, along with the edge around the handle being radiused. For such a flat and narrow handle profile, it's very comfortable in multiple grips, guys. It's a pretty neat little knife overall. The fit and finish on the sheath, equally well done, guys. I don't see any issue in the molding. The sheath works ambidextrously. It works either way. You can insert the knife either way. The retention is on one of the holes in the handle. There's no play at all, and the retention is tight, guys. You could very well, very easily use this as a neck knife. It's very thin and narrow. It would be easy to carry, and you don't have to worry about this knife falling out. Now, overall on this knife, I mean, it's such a simple knife, guys. It's obvious the first time you look at it what the intended purpose of this knife is. That combined with the Secret Edge name, this knife is basically being marketed as a hideout knife, a backup piece. I don't consider this to be much of a utility or utilitarian knife like the Skindoo was originally designed for centuries ago in Scotland. It's in a pretty thin blade stock, and it's very flat. You typically, in a more utilitarian knife design, you'll see thicker blade stock and a little thicker or more rounded handle scales. This is a purpose-built, purpose-designed knife, in my opinion, and it would excel at what it was designed for as a hideout or backup knife for self-defense. Now, could you use it for utility? Well, sure, you can use any knife for anything for the most part. But with this edge profile, this blade profile with a fairly flat, although there is radius there, it is a continuous belly actually, guys. It's not flat. So there is belly there to work with, but with that thin blade stock and the very thin pointy tip, I don't think that I would use it for utility purposes, although it would be great at opening letters or opening package, cutting string, cutting cord. The more light duty end of EDC task, it would excel at. This knife, the sheath, it comes with a length of ball chain. Now this is one of the knives, I want to say, this is one of the knives, this is the second place prize in my giveaway that's running right now. Now this knife originally came with a length of ball chain that I have no idea what happened to it. So in the original packaging, you're going to get the knife, the sheath, and a length of blackened ball chain to use it as a neck knife, even though I've somehow lost it on this knife. And I am including the Merc harness system, which is a 550 cord system. So it'll still be able to be used as a neck knife. But overall, the design of this, guys, I'm going to come back to it again. It's a hideout knife. It just screams hideout knife to me. And in the hand, it would be very stabby, very usable in that. Now, the only detraction that I will say about this knife is this. It is a mirror image profile side to side. So when you pull it out, there's not really a tactile indicator of the orientation of the blade other than this length of jimping here. That is one thing that I thought could have been improved on it, but it is what it is. It's a very basic hideout knife. So you don't want to be yanking this knife out, accidentally have it backwards, and have your thumb placed down here on the sharpened edge instead of on the back of the blade. You got to be careful of that. That's just a sort of a give or take in this design. But outside of that, guys, I don't see any issue with this design. I think for its intended purpose and design, it would excel at that. I personally would not want to have this stuck into my body by anybody at all. Not even a little bit, guys. Because I got to say, I don't think this would stick into the body a little bit. I think that would be stuck in all the way with minimal effort. If you need a small fixed blade as a get-off-me blade while you're carrying a firearm, somebody goes for your firearm, you got to retain that thing. You could pull this thing out with your offhand and you could stick it into them 10 times before they even knew what was happening and leave them bleeding out on the floor while you retain your firearm. You defended yourself and your family. So it would excel in that. It could be worn around the neck comfortably. It could be worn inside the waistband comfortably. You could tuck this down into your boot comfortably. Speaking of that, let's go back and look at the sheath. This sheath is very thin, and I do not give dimensions on sheaths, but I'm going to do that here. We're going to look at the cross section of this sheath. At the thickest, it's a 1/2 inch thick, guys. That's it. The remainder of the sheath is slightly under a 1/4 inch thick, and at the widest point, it is only 2 inches wide. It is a very compact, easy to carry sheath. It will work in just about any position where you want to tuck this away and you want to hide this away and you want to be comfortable doing it. No issues there. So again, whoever wins the second place prize in my giveaway, This is a great little knife. You've got the tradition of the skiing do behind it and a lot of history, modernized and designed towards a hideout piece that I think it would excel as, and I would recommend it for that use. All right, guys. Another one I can recommend. Another one from Cold Steel. You know what? Cold Steel, their marketing, it can be a little goofy sometimes, guys. But as a company, they really, their focus on defensive and offensive knives is very well done. They have so many good products around or across their product line for those uses, and this is another one. I think if you can find this in the $23 to $26 price range that I saw it across the internet, it is an excellent, excellent deal. This is a fantastic, whoever wins this, congratulations ahead of time. I think you're really, really going to like it. So again, guys, thank you for taking the time to watch one of my videos. God bless all of you, and we will talk to you later.